very special day at Back to the City in the Duplex today, and the reason why Larry Wish, Adam, aka Adam Worthing, is responding to me saying the Duplex in that manner is because a second ago I asked him what he referred to this place as when he was here writing a lot of the Larry Wish material.
Right.
In this room.
In this space. Mixing, writing, mastering.
Yeah.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. So it's a very special experience.
Yes.
We're going to be focusing mainly on the newest record from Larry Wish and his guys.
Yes.
That's the third record from Larry Wish and his guys, following The Man Who Even Has a Gun, and The Mouth is the most promising.
That's right.
That's called Not From My Come From, and so let's pause for a moment. It strikes me as really interesting that those first two and his guys' records are about a specific thing, the mouth.
Yes.
Or the man, a very specific man who even has a gun.
Yes.
And then this newest one is not from might come from. So we have a sense of a lack of specificity or absence or something, or isn't. So for want of a better word, isn't. Was that a conscious thing, and does that reveal anything about the difference between this new and his guys' record and the previous two?
Well, I suppose that you could look back on it and find all kinds of little connections between the two.
Yeah.
As far as naming this album, I really just wanted to go for an abstract statement, and I think I was in the car with Kate and Sam when I came up with it.
Yep. Kate and Sam, two of the guys.
Yes, yeah, drummer and bassist respectively.
Yep.
And it was at first kind of an abstraction on a kind of nationalist theme, like those people who are like, oh no, not in my backyard, or if you don't like it, you can get out. It's almost like a phrase that they would say, but a humorous take on phrases like that are already so absurd.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, so it has one type of absurdity that someone would have that attitude, and then the kind of the grammatical weirdness for it is just one aspect of another type of absurdity.
The obvious, absurdity that's staring you in the face with a title like that.
Yeah. Nice. So that's an interesting antithesis. We both feel very much at home in this room in particular of the Duplex.
Yes.
And yet, the record is kind of raising questions about what people deem home or attitudes that people have towards home.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're going to be, for the most part, dipping into that record, talking about the transformation of some of those songs, because many of the songs existed as just Larry Wish songs.
Yes, as solo recordings.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of those guys' albums came about, is I would have a pool of songs that I'd recorded by myself and then would teach to them, and we'd get enough material together and say, well, this material is all very different than it was when I recorded it, so it might as well be a new album. It's got new personalities, fresh takes.
Yeah.
And the songs are, music is always evolving. To me, I think that there's nothing ever set in stone.
On the Bandcamp, I think it's on the Bandcamp, it highlights that there are a set of far-out pop tunes and outsider jams wrote over the course of 3 years at the Organ House.
Yes.
Which is relatively close to...
Yeah, it's just about 15 blocks west of here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they began as 4-track bedroom prog songs.
Right.
Bedroom's
over there.
And then you would begin by overdubbing the drums, and so that's on the previous records, not the and his guys records.
Yeah, right. Not on the guys. That stuff for the most part is recorded just all at once.
Yeah.
With some punch-ins and overdubs.
Where did you record?
Not From I Come From was recorded at the studio that was previously called Old Blackberry Way and
Yeah.
is now called Bluebell Knoll.
Bluebell
Run by
Knoll. Good
Neil
job.
Weir. Yes.
Yeah. And he was who you were working with.
Yes,
Yeah.
he engineered and produced that whole excursion.
Yeah. And it says online that it features a band of talented and wonderful musicians who have learned the parts and applied their own stylized filters to them.
Yes.
So, are there any aspects in these songs where the stylized filter of, so we referred to two of the guys already,
Yes.
Caitlin, Samuel Kramer is on
Yes.
bass, yeah? Now we have Nate Johnson for the first time on electric guitar
That's
on,
right.
on this record.
Yes, thankfully.
He is great.
Yes.
Nate is
yes.
great. Are there any moments where the adding of something new is more pronounced than at others? Yeah.
Yes, certainly. For me, it's hard to find spots where that's not happening.
Right. Yeah.
Because those songs are so personal to me, and I know them as these little things that I created, and then seeing other people experience them and perform them
Yeah.
is like just witnessing that nuance and
Mhm.
what they put into it
Mhm.
is something entirely different and so special every time. But especially in the songs Milady and Mary Has a Wheelchair and Lots of Markers.
Yep.
In the song Mary, I mean,
Which is
all
the final track.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. It's almost 10 minutes long from what used to be like a 6-minute song.
Mhm.
And there are guitar parts in there played by Nate that I couldn't have written. That's, that's all him
Yeah.
learning that song and feeling it and putting his voice into it.
Mhm.
Those drums, a lot of the drums are parts that I will teach Kate, and I'll just teach her the kind of the bare minimum, and she takes whatever I've provided and makes it into like such an expanded and gorgeous tapestry of percussion. I
think so too.
Yes. And Sam Kramer's variations on whatever bass part I had in that song, Mary, to begin with, are amazing. Every time I listen to that song, I pick up on a new thing
Mm-hmm.
that he threw in there or that he did that I didn't notice before.
Right.
Because there's just so much going on in his playing.
And at the same time, they're true to the, if one listens to these versions of the songs alongside the versions on the earlier just Larry Wish records, there's nothing lost. We're not departing from it. The song as written by you is there.
You can tell it's the same song.
Yeah.
But it's like variations on a theme or just a more pronounced side of it. It's like looking at this side of someone's face and then you see this side too and you're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way.
He's got two sides on his face.
I didn't know you're so symmetrical.
Cool. Well, we're going to be going through each of the tracks on that record, really digging into them.
Cool.
But let's kind of zoom out for a moment, and it needs to be noted that there are by now 56 Larry Wish releases
I believe you.
on the Bandcamp, and if one wants to, one can acquire all of them in one foul swoop, 80% discount if one does say. For the time being, and the figure must go up as there's like 57, 58, 59.
Yeah, incrementally by a short amount.
But right now it's $53.60, so that's less than $1 a record.
Yeah, it's a great deal, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. You can't argue with that. Or alternatively, so I'm being your salesman for a moment right now.
Yes, please.
Alternatively, you can subscribe for $20 a year. And if one were to, we can do this together. If one were to subscribe for $20 a year, what would one get?
I believe you get like 10 back albums of some of my favorite ones. You get every album that I'll be recording in the future just right away.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two things that pop. I haven't visited this in a while, but...
And there's a special members only album collection of songs.
That's right.
Unreleased elsewhere.
That's right.
It's exclusive access to the fan community.
Yes, I think that's Not Even. Is that what it's called on there?
The fan community is called Not Even?
I believe that the album of
The
unreleased
unreleased
tracks.
songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
I
Yeah.
hope I'm right. I haven't looked at this stuff since maybe August.
Yep.
So I'm really digging deep into my brain, but I think that makes sense.
And if you look online, there's a really fun subscription video
Yes.
that was tracked just behind you,
Mhm.
behind the cameras.
Behind you there, and there. And maybe even like here too.
Yep. If one does that, one subscribes, any new records you would just automatically get.
Yes.
And to give a sense of how prolific Adam, are you Adam or Larry or both?
Either. My middle name is Lawrence, so it's
Okay.
like not far off the mark
Oh, cool.
whatsoever. And I'm very used to people either saying Adam or Larry, correspond to both equally.
And not only is your middle name Lawrence, but your grandfather's name
Yes.
is Lawrence.
Yes.
And I bring it up because, and I know that because the cover art
Yes.
for the newest record is a painting.
Is a painting done by Lawrence Wervin.
Yeah.
Yes, who resides in North Dakota. He's in his 80s, and he makes wonderful paintings of his childhood home.
Oh, I was going to ask. So,
Yes.
so that's really interesting then. That the title, because we were talking about home before,
Yes.
not from my come from. You know, it kind of suggests this problematic attitude of
Uninviting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that the cover looks so inviting.
It does.
So there's kind of this weird contrast
Yeah.
that
There's even a
I'm really
face.
fond of.
We were talking about faces,
Yes.
seeing different angles. If you look at the tree carefully, the tree has a face.
Yes. Yeah.
So-
done in pencil too, which I really like.
So, and the rest of it is paint.
Yeah,
like acrylic.
acrylic,
paint.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, at what stage in the process did you become aware that painting / pencil sketch by your grandfather was the right image to go with this record?
I think it was shortly after I hung it up in this house.
Uh-huh.
And
Where was it hanging?
it was hanging just behind the camera on the other side of that wall, facing the dining room area.
Oh, yeah. That's where these flowers often are.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
they like to switch.
They like to switch. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just love to be in the limelight. So
Yeah.
whenever an interview's happening, they make a special request.
Get out of the
please.
way. Yeah, this album was, I think, at the time being mastered and was still in the process of. It didn't really have a home or label yet. I was shopping it around. I think I shopped it around to like 30 to 50 places,
Mhm.
and I'd hung up that painting, and it kind of all just fit.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do visually, and that one I kind of put as a seed in my head, like, yes, that very much makes sense
Yeah.
for this cover. And then when Steve at Moonglyph asked me if I had any ideas for album art, when
Mhm.
he was kind of getting all the layout and design for the
Mhm.
tape ready,
Mhm.
that was instantly, yes, this is the album cover.
It fits.
Yes.
Hmm. Cool. So you said Steve at Moonglyph.
Yes.
Not only did you release 4 records over the course of 2016, but they were all through different record or tape labels.
Yes.
So we have Not From I Come From through Moonglyph.
Mm-hmm.
That was the final one
Right.
in November. And the third of 4, so in reverse chronological order,
Yes.
was Soundtrack Music.
Music. Yes.
Not soundtrack music, soundtrack music.
Not ick, uck.
Music.
Yes, exactly.
And that was through
That's
OSR.
OSR, yes.
Yeah.
Who recently called it, I don't want to say call it quits, that sounds so negative, but they are no longer going to be an active label.
Okay.
But everything that they've released, as long as it's okay with the artists, is
Yeah.
going to remain on their Bandcamp for free as
Oh,
kind of
wonderful.
like an archival thing,
Yeah.
which I think is lovely. Yeah.
I think that's lovely too. I also think that what they had to say about you was lovely and
Yes.
true.
Yes.
So they said an album, they referred to Soundtrack Music as an album of thoughtful piano and synthesizer multitracks. I get the sense that Larry really inhabits the tilt-a-roll he divines in his recordings.
Yes.
Speaking of home, speaking of inhabiting.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I didn't know there was going to be such a theme.
Yeah, it really does.
I love it.
That's what you get when you return home, return to an old home.
Yes.
For an interview. And what you said, all the more, I want to dig into that, because you said this music was thought up / burped out in a period of great personal development, and I will always remember this chunk of time as very positive and very clear.
Yes.
So, can you talk a little bit about the time period during which you were working on soundtrack music?
Sure. I think that would have been winter of 2014 and 15. And at this time, I had just recently gone back to school after taking a 6-year break. I did 2 semesters at Augsburg and decided that it wasn't for me at that time. I don't think that my brain was as developed as it could have been, or just there wasn't a good fit, and I was very much opposed to the college experience at that time. And then it kind of took 5 or 6 years of just like sitting in the organ house in my old home and recording. A few blocks away, recording like 17 albums and soaking up knowledge in my own way and taking my time with it until I realized, like, yes, this is now the time for me to seek higher education in an institution, and where better to go than MCTC, because it, for me, has been very cheap, as far as colleges can go.
Absolutely, yeah. So there was clarity regarding your sense of purpose and what you should be doing.
Yes.
It sounds like you had kind of become maybe a little bit of an autodidact for a bit, so testing the waters.
Yes.
and then pushing yourself into the MCTC, where you're working on graphic design, is that right? And sound engineering?
Yes, I'm about 90% done with an associate's in sound engineering, and doing an internship at a local recording studio called Minnehaha Recording Company. A lovely place. And then I'm about halfway done with a bachelor's in graphic design. And I've really been finding myself just kind of taking to that art form, and I had already done plenty of like visual art and doodles and all that, but kind of learning the foundation and a bit of history about graphic design and learning the Adobe programs and applying like my art to that.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been working for me, and I've been finding myself highly enjoying it.
Can we expect, so we were talking, so we're still in our process of going backwards through last year's releases, but I'm excited to quiz you a little bit about what you're working on now.
Yes.
You were just telling me the title of a new Larry Wish project.
Yes, it's the one that I've never been more excited.
About the project or
about a project and everything about it, like the process by which I'm making this music, the quality of the music, like to my standards of what I'm doing, and just how it's coming along, how it is as a whole, and where I think it can go. I've never been more excited about a project.
Wow! So if soundtrack music comes from positivity and clarity, are you riding at the same? It's like the same wave, or where is this coming from?
I think it's the same wave that's almost fractaling out into other waves that I'm able to ride simultaneously.
Nice.
So,
well balanced.
So there's I still very much feel the positivity and the clarity, and also exploration in my process and the quality of the work.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I bring it up now because you were talking about those Adobe programs.
Yes.
Can we expect like a new dimension to Larry Wish releases insofar as you using your graphic design skills in a different manner?
Certainly, yes. Why not? I love making album art. I love making posters already. Yeah. And I would love to implement that into whatever this album becomes.
Yeah. And we have it, you've revealed the title. So what's the title?
Yes, the title is How More Can You Need, or Do You Need? How more do you need? Can you need? I'll land somewhere.
One of those. Depends which wave you
exactly,
you
yeah.
And when you were saying that to me just in the kitchen, we're covering all the different rooms in the house, when we were collecting our raspberries and the muffins that Marielle baked.
Yes, which I'm excited to try.
It struck me that it's a really interesting phrase because it seems to be missing a much.
Yes.
How much more can you need?
Yeah.
It's definitely need, yeah?
Yeah, I think it came from a place of just thinking like how much more do people need in their lives, like what is lacking, what are we doing on this planet, how much, there's just like kind of an excess in the title, and I think an excess in the music as well. It all seems very chaotic to me, and it's all very orchestral music, but sped up. Should I talk about the process maybe a little bit?
Please do.
Okay, so this is a recording process that I started working on in the beginning of this previous summer.
Okay.
And I start out by just like having a song written or writing a song and then recording it very slowly. I'll set the tempo at a very slow tempo and I'll record the song, and it will usually end up being like 5 to 8 minutes long.
Okay.
And then I'll pump it into my 4-track cassette recorder and just pitch it the heck up so that it speeds up quite a bit and becomes more frantic and overwhelming and cartoony.
Wow, yeah. And this is a new process.
Yes, I've never done anything like this before. And certainly things like this have been done many times, but for me it feels like such a refreshing and new and like fun way to make songs, and I love the songs that are coming out of it.
And it fits with the idea of excess that we have in the title.
So. Yeah.
So what do you get then? What instrumentation do you get then before you switch the pitch?
Sure. So it's mostly a lot of keyboards and synths.
Yeah.
And some percussion within those keyboards. So there's not a lot of like acoustically captured sound.
Okay.
It's all recorded via synths and keyboards digitally and then transferred to cassette tape.
Yeah. So I suppose depending on the proficiency of the synth player, it would be possible.
It would be possible to play, yes.
Someone to play it and for it to sound the same.
I think so, yeah. And I think that's what Beethoven did just a bit, is write a piece of music and then bump up the tempo a little bit.
On his 4-track.
Yeah, on his 4-track. So maybe for switched on Bach or switched on Beethoven.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had just heard that that composers like that had done that in the past, and I wanted to kind of take like a fresh approach on it, and especially with artists like Les Paul, I think, did kind of tape exploration like that, and just like recording something and then making it super fast.
Do you think that you'll be are you imagining playing those songs with your guys and or with other musicians?
I want to. I want to imagine that, and yes, I want to have like, the guys are such like a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
That I love having that output and that way to kind of like flex those songs. But I also want to have like a chamber ensemble or an orchestra. Not just of acoustic instruments, but it could be of like synth players, people playing on laptops, regular cellos, just a little bit of everything, playing songs of mine that are maybe more geared towards that instrumentation than like electric guitar and like a full drum kit.
Yeah, calling cellists. Calling all cellists.
Exactly. Please. Please, I need you.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to hear that. And as we continue our backwards journey through 2016, this will be just another aspect of the wave, another kind of string to your bow, because each of these projects is quite different, as exemplified, for example, by Porous Obtainer of Loads, which was the second of the 4 releases in 2016, and that's all covers.
It's all covers,
and released through Truly
Bold.
Truly Bold.
Yes.
Like me.
Yeah. Truly, like the aspect of the truthfulness is wonderful.
Yeah. How did you select? I love it. It says online, all songs misinterpreted by Adam Wavin.
Well, you know, I'm very humble.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of, I'm taking these cover songs and putting my voice to them. The artists that already wrote and record these songs, like, the songs are perfect as they are. I'm not trying to better them at all. And I think probably in a couple cases they were misinterpreted as far as notation or
sonically.
Because I'm listening and I'm like, I think that's this chord, or I think that's a D.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just we'll make that work.
Yeah. So you're gonna make it your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I tried to.
And I also love that it explicitly encourages people to go and find and listen to the originals too, like on the Bandcamp.
Yeah, Bandcamp or YouTube or any of these like tape labels that have been popping up.
Yeah.
A lot of these artists, I think, are maybe not as well known as they should be.
Yeah.
I think that they have kind of their own novelty following, or there are people that are like, oh yes, like that person is wonderful and lovely, but I think that they could be more well known because what they do is sometimes very strange and sometimes very beautiful.
So some related questions. How did you discover any one of these artists? And then what was your process of misinterpretation?
Sure. The Mark Gormley song, Little Wings. That song I heard in 2008 or 2009 just through YouTube. It was like, oh, who's this like really weird guy who's singing kind of like a Rush song, but it's all acoustic and it's very absurd. And I know he's gotten a bit of notoriety through people thinking that it's very weird or that he's very like novel or strange. I think Weird Al did like a parody of this same song, or at least his visual presence in the video.
Okay. So it was a reference of some kind. Yeah.
Yes. And this song is originally just acoustic and with voice, but I tried to give it like some drums and synths, and then my deep registered voice, which is exactly the opposite of this person, Mark Gormley, who's singing in such a high register and like just a beautiful, like high-pitched voice that I could never pull off.
Cool. I really love Losing You.
Yes.
Your cover of Losing You.
The Jan Terry song.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And your voice, I think something slightly different is happening with your voice there. It's either, it seems a little bit more prominent than it does in some of the other songs, perhaps.
Sure.
Was the manner in which you produced, the manner in which you recorded these songs, to what extent was that determined, or how did that relate to how the original song sounded?
As far as like the level of the vocals?
The level of the vocals or any other production decisions that you were making. It struck me that sounded a little different from other Larry Wish songs, and I wondered to what extent is that because it's a cover of this other song?
Yeah, I think that for sure this cover is a little more like upbeat and rock and roll than a lot of other of my songs.
Yes.
I used a child's drum kit for the drums, so
nice.
but tried to mix them and give them kind of like a spectrum of frequencies that would make it seem believable that it's a normal drum kit, like having like the lows a little more pronounced and like kind of taking down the highs.
So in what sense was it a child's drum kit? Like just a mini drum kit?
Yeah, like
a toy drum kit?
A drum kit for a child.
Yeah.
Like the bass drum is like this big.
Yeah.
The snare drum's this big. I just bought it off of Amazon, and it's advertised for children. It's like a child's beginning drum kit.
Yeah,
like
it's not a toy as such, but it is for kids.
Yeah, it's almost like those. Are you familiar with those First Act that First Act brand of instruments that they would sell in like Targets, Walmarts. I think you could even give them at music go-rounds.
Yeah.
They were just like
Like
children.
your first guitar.
Yeah, like my first guitar, my first drum set.
Yeah.
So they're not like, they don't like sound beautiful and they're not like at a professional level, but although you could use them professionally, like why not?
You have them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, they are sort of like thrown together.
So what was it about this song, Losing You, that called for that treatment?
Oh, I think that I just wanted very badly to use that drum kit on the song.
Yeah, and this was rocking it up.
And yes, exactly. And it might have even just been that was what was set up in the basement where I do, where I've done a lot of the drum recording when I lived in this house.
Yes.
For the most part, I used my downstairs neighbor Tim's drum set.
Yeah.
And I think maybe on that day, his drum kit was still in his car from like the last night's performance somewhere.
So happenstance, an aspect of an element of happenstance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
cool.
It's just, oh, well, this is around. Use it. Why not?
Cool. I loved what Jake Tobin from Truly Bald said. This is, I think, one of my favourite reflections on Larry Wish.
Nice.
It's relatively long. He began by highlighting, I don't believe in outsiders. He doesn't believe in outsiders because the idea of an outsider implies an inside, and who's to say where that is?
Yes.
And then he
I
expands.
love that point.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And then he kind of zooms in on you as his kind of case study and says, so zoom in. If I had someone on the camera who would zoom in on Adam. The broadness of anyone's internal world far surpasses the wishy-washy specifics of any collectively imagined world. This is especially the case, zoom in, when I think of the world of Larry Wish. Larry's is a fully realized dream zone full of goop, malappropriated grammar rules, sludgy emotional briar patches. He finds these specific uncomfortable phrasings and situations, zooms so far into them, and seems to hope to transcend layers of faux posturing and aloofity via expressing some raw slapstick goof inside of him / us. So I think a lot is going on there, especially with these reflections having to do with the covers record.
Yes.
Okay, because there's the claims being made by Jake here about the particularity of anyone's internal world surpassing, any groups shared, agreed upon, well-defined, but less real world.
Yeah.
But you in the album, to what extent are you trying to inhabit the private world, the particular world of the musicians that you're covering?
I don't think that I had any intention of like getting in to their world. It was kind of just like, oh, like I've seen like their worlds or just like seen them in the world and really appreciated what they do and just wanted to be a part of it in my own way. Yeah,
that was my kind of inkling. So rather than trying to recreate this inaccessible other private world, there's it's like the intersection. What happens when the Larry Wish world, at the intersection of that and these others that you find exciting.
Yes.
And something, according to Jake, something happens to and for us as well in the expressing or discovering the raw slapstick goof inside. Is that something? So you're just kind of smiling and like responding to that. Is that something that you feel is happening in your music?
I think so.
Yeah.
I certainly think that I try to put an element of humor.
Yeah.
Of humor in there and try to get some seriousness or like some what I would perceive as beauty in there too.
Yeah.
So I I think it's hard to escape that sphere of emotion. It's hard to like cut off one third and have like beauty without humor or like sadness without happiness.
Yeah.
I think that emotion is so multidimensional that it's like why not try to express all that you can at once.
Because these are interrelated human experiences,
Yes.
and in like the general definition of happiness or whatever might not touch upon whatever joyful experience, joyful emotion one's experiencing.
Yes.
So you, right at the beginning of that quotation, you were in complete agreement with this initial abstract idea of, well, there can't be an outsider because if there's an outsider, there's an insider, and what is that?
Yeah.
Is that something which you thought about in relation to your music before? And regardless, can we reflect on what's happening with Larry Wish music in relation to that idea
Sure.
of highlighting the fictionality of this insight?
Yeah, I feel like I think that in some reviews and like things that I've seen, if people like choose to write about me, sometimes there is that element of like describing it as outsider, which I've always seen as whenever I'm reading this in the context of me, it has never made sense.
Right.
Because to me, an outsider artist, I would like hold them to such a regard, like way up here, like almost like they've never had any experience with different perspectives or like even the world around them. When I think of outsider artists, I think of people who are absolutely geniuses and who are almost untouchable by society and who might not even care that these things are being said about them.
Yeah, to be out. It's always kind of like a fiction to be outside of one's context, but to have something approaching that or approximating to that would be difficult to pull off. This element of existing, of not. But I mean, many people would say that that's true of you. Like you're not kind of following specific trends, would you say? Or
sure. I mean, maybe that makes sense. But I think also maybe I don't think that anything that I'm doing is that like that like outside of what music has been or what music is going to be.
Yeah.
And so I just I've never identified myself with that term. And I think that the outsider does have like a weird exclusive, almost like a not from my come from kind of feel. If we can bring it back to that,
absolutely.
It's like if this person is an outsider artist, then they're an outsider, and we're like able to judge them without them being present. These are like the connotations that I kind of have when I think of that. Or it's like talking about somebody behind their back, maybe. Maybe, but.
So you're resistant to being characterized in that manner, and you're not trying to be.
Yeah, not trying to be that whatsoever. But at the same time, if people want to or have described me as that, I don't think I've ever taken offense.
Right.
Or been like, well, you're a complete jerk for saying that. And how dare you try to like characterize things in the world like through your own lens and have perspective and a perception of the world. It's like it's always been kind of like okay, well that's interesting that you think so.
So if you're not first and foremost trying to be outside of something else, are you aware of striving to do or be anything in particular through your music?
For myself?
Yeah.
I think that whatever musical project I try to do that is a reflection of like my expression or my art, I always wanted to be pushing myself in some way, to try something new, to try a different approach on creating, or to explore different themes. It would be very hard for me to do the exact same thing over and over again, but which is an amazing discipline at the same time, that there are people who will devote their life to this like singular way of doing things, probably with like a fine nuance that I can't even understand. But I feel like if I've done something that is a drawing of a circle, then I'm kind of like, well, I already drew a circle, so I need to like draw a triangle, or like make a triangle out of hair, or like not use a shape or something, because I need to feel like I'm pushing myself in whatever I try to make. I need to just like try to be better than how I was.
And
all the
different
time.
is better.
I think
Different
so.
from, specifically not from what others are doing, but from what you have done.
From what I have done, yes.
Yeah. And so ending our backwards journey through 2016 to what you had done first, or what you had released first in 2016, was American Birthstone. And that was...
I remember that.
That was right at the beginning, January 11th, and it's described as a patchwork 90s samples and tape loops.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like a triangle that maybe that's a triangle made of hair. That then is different from the other three releases that were yet to come.
I think so.
What's distinct about that? Can you expand a bit more on patchwork 90s samples and tape loops? What's that record?
Yeah, I can try. That record came about when I was listening to just like so much vaporwave and so much music that is kind of like taking songs and chopping and screwing them and into taking songs that are already songs and that are already kind of licensed works by people, and then saying like, well, what if I change it this way? It's a totally different thing now. There's like kind of a free use or a fair use ideology about it that I deeply believe in.
Yeah.
I think that's how culture moves forward. You take things, not like taking like you're stealing it and you're, giving credit is important, but I think like being able to use everything that's around us and not having the limitations of saying like, no, you like can't use this. I think that that's important. As long as you're being ethical, whatever that means
as long
to
as
you.
you're not just grabbing and thinking, I can make something of this, it doesn't matter where it's come from.
Yeah, or this belongs to me, and but I think where that album came from, at least, is that I have always had such a love for like 90s music. I grew up listening to this stuff like on the bus going to kindergarten. You'd hear Paula Cole, "Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?" And so that's like that song in particular has been always like in my heart, and a lot of those grunge songs that frequent that album are they have like little spots that are kind of nestled in my heart that are always fun to listen to, and that I care for them, even though like they are also silly at the same time. But there's again like kind of the beauty and silliness walking hand in hand.
Yeah, part of the human experience and part of what is valued as well. If our works of art are records of what we value, then I wouldn't like to imagine a world devoid of humor.
Yeah.
Sad.
Ow, yeah, that feels terrible.
Yep.
No, that will never happen.
So we are midway through our interview. We're about to boomerang back into the present. So we've been stretching back like elastic.
Yes.
And now we found us, and you were talking about the grunge songs frequenting that record. Now we find ourselves back in Not From, Might Come From. And we're going to focus first of all on the characters that frequent it.
Yes.
There's quite a cast of characters. We
Yes.
already referred to Mary.
Right.
Mary with the crayons and the wheelchair and the markers.
Yes.
The markers.
The
right?
markers. Yes.
Mary has a wheelchair and lots of markers. Is the final track. Sometimes I actually Kimberly myself. So we have Mary, we have Kimberly.
Yes.
The Queen of Ingwin
Yes.
is another character.
Yes.
And let's see, who else do we have? Indrid Cold.
Yes.
Yeah. Won't remember his name.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are one or two others as well. Johnny Camaraderie, for example.
Yes, that's right.
So,
hearing this, I actually didn't. I had never thought about how many specific people are in this
yeah.
album.
So, are they fictional
That's so
people?
funny.
What is so? And again, for an album which is kind of about the concept of home is relevant to the record we've established.
Yes.
So,
Maybe who's invited in, who's not invited in.
yes.
Yeah. It's a bit of that too, maybe.
Yeah. So, what are these characters doing?
Yes. Well, who should I start with?
Who would you like to start with? Is there a character which is particularly most at home in the record?
Let's start with Indrid Cold.
Yeah.
Indrid Cold, I think, is one of my favorites. One of my favorite stories that is almost like a myth or a legend or a tall tale, or a totally factual, like real human.
Okay.
Or human.
Yeah.
It's kind of, who knows? Well, the story behind Indrid Cold is, have you ever heard of the Mothman prophecies? It was it was a movie. It was like a Hollywood movie that was based on kind of a bit of paranormal journalism.
Okay.
By John Keel in the early 70s. And this is like a sci-fi book. It's absurd, and it's delivered as real and factual events. Almost like a Bigfoot story or something like that.
Hence the description just now is, the legend or the real account, because there's some ambiguity, at least the way in which it's presented.
Yes, and I think it's fun to believe either way. It's like kind of...
It invites that.
Yeah, exactly. This is an account of, I believe it was in West Virginia in the late 60s. People started seeing UFOs all over the place, and they started seeing like weird gases around their homes, and they started saying that some people were meeting this character or seeing this character along the highway that they distinguished as the Mothman.
Okay.
Who was almost like this giant moth creature that had glowing red eyes that would kind of fly along your car as you were driving down the highway.
Oh.
And would, disperse at some point.
Yeah. He's related to the gas in the home, which is just how it's shot, sadly. You can't
This was a series of events that is being reported or purported by this author, saying that this community experienced like men in black showing up at their doors and saying like, you didn't see any of this, UFOs, and this character named Indrid Cold, many people reported having or being in touch with, who would kind of show up at your door in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Some people saw him coming down ladders from UFOs, and he would tell the people he visited that he was an extra-dimensional character. He wasn't like an alien from outer space or anything like that, but an entity that could traverse dimensions.
Okay, so he was, by definition, extraterrestrial, but not an alien.
Yes. And it's a very weird book and has all these strange anomalies, these strange accounts within it. That since I was a kid, I've always been so like enamored by monster stories, Bigfoot stories, ghosts, aliens, any of that stuff. I don't necessarily believe that any of it's true, but I don't necessarily believe that it's impossible.
Yeah,
It's kind of fun to have that, like,
you entertain
anything's
it.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Indrid Cold is happy to meet you
Mhm.
with his olive skin and triple noses.
Mhm.
Is that a characteristic from the book?
I
The
think I
triple
made up.
noses?
I think I made up triple noses.
Yeah, anything is possible.
Yeah. It sounded
Adding your
good.
own aspect to this story.
Exactly. Yeah. Why not? And if it's something that is a tall tale or a legend, why not build on it? Because that's how those things get taller and accumulate.
More legendary.
Yes.
And okay, so it's really interesting. There's a whole new lens on it now. So Andrew Cole at the beginning of the song shakes hands with every person. It's coming down the ladder.
Yeah, very friendly.
So a lot of these features, and that is happy to see
Yes.
them, like we just highlighted. Shaky gestures though, very nervous.
Right.
And then that's picked up on a bit later in the song. Sometimes it doesn't go according to plan.
Mhm.
But his expression wouldn't tell you that.
Yes.
So we have a sense in this song of unease
Yes.
and like cover up.
Yes.
Like, so you refer to Men in Black. Is that where the movie concept of Men in Black comes from? This book, perhaps. Or?
It could. It very well could. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't doubt it.
But this Men in Black-esque, you didn't see it. That didn't happen. You're not
Yes.
going to remember this name.
Exactly. Memory wipe. The
Yeah.
whole thing.
So as well as like this story, this book and this story, this legend having and it being interesting to you, this nervousness, this shakiness, this things not going according to plan, and maintaining composure, but it's not okay.
Yeah.
What's the significance of that vibe?
That vibe. That's me putting my own like self into the songs. I used to deal with what was very hard for me, some very bad anxiety for a long time, and which is, I think, and I hope no longer like a case in my life, but I used to just like have these paralyzing anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
And it was very much a part of my life and was kind of an inhibitor for a long time. Yeah. And so that I've put that into my lyrics and into a lot of music.
Yeah. Well,
that
I'm so glad to hear that that's, that you've come through that.
Yes, I don't know how. But I think at some point, and even going back to like the soundtrack music, area
the clarity
of time,
and the happiness.
Yeah, I think that was a period of time where I made myself address that, and I kind of said I can either let this totally control my life and make me unhappy all the time and like live in fear constantly, or I can just try to like will myself out of it, or just like talk myself through that stuff and address it more than I had previously been doing.
Was the instrumental music the right soundtrack to that? Was it partly through the medium of creating that music that was that either a catalyst or a soundtrack or
I think it's always been a little bit of a soundtrack and like a sounding board.
Yeah. For
me to put that energy and those feelings.
Yeah.
And to express that like ball of fire that was like in my brain or in my body, just like needing to get the heck out of there. So you can't let that stuff sit in you.
On that record, some of the titles are Yummy Food Eat.
Yes, yeah.
That's a favourite of mine, Yummy Food Eat.
Yeah, it's like a children's song.
Yeah.
It's like a goofy little jazz tune.
That's my favourite on that record.
Oh, thank you.
And,
it's a personal favourite too.
Oh, wonderful,
yes.
Yeah. And it could be the soundtrack to us, isn't it?
I know, yeah, having a little Yummy Food Eat right now.
So, is there, so if that's the soundtrack to the process of kind of recalibration that you were discussing, is the, almost like the immediacy, like, focus on what's here, Yummy Food Eat, like, how does a title and an idea like that, or going to a church, or going to a widow church, And then we have people in this record too, specifically a man in a car who understands, and people on the steps who are lively.
Yes.
So why do we end up with titles like that? Why does the music end up sounding the way it does, if it's kind of a soundtrack or a sounding board to the recalibration?
I think that with some of those songs, at least, the music was written, and then I would kind of just either sit and think about like what kind of what imagery would that evoke, or have it like instantly hit me, or just like take a string of words that I had been kind of like thinking up, or I'd like fallen asleep thinking of, or woken up thinking of, and saying like, oh yes, okay, that's a good fit.
Yeah.
Like with a man in the car understands, that one kind of, I have like a very specific visual that is conjured up when I listen to that song. I get a very slow pan from the outskirts of the Kmart on Lake Street, and we have a slow zoom into a car window, a car that's parked in the parking lot, and there's just like a guy sitting there about to turn his key. He's just kind of sitting, and he like eventually there's an expression on his face, and you know that he's understanding something, or something is registering, or he's having an epiphany, or
clarity.
Yes, it's like a very silly way for clarity to come about in my head. It makes me laugh. Like thinking about it all the time. Yeah, that's
Kmart car park.
Marketed by Kmart.
Clarity.
Kmart clarity. Oh.
So we focus just on. So we've got the person in the car. Back on the most recent record, we've got Indrid Cold. And let's move to a different room of the most recent record, and Mary. I think Mary is perhaps the second most prominent character.
I think so.
Mary, she's the other one who gets a song. This was the Queen of England. We'll come back to that. But Mary has a wheelchair and lots of markers.
Yes.
This is the one that changed the most with your guys.
Yes, I think
got
so.
longest. Why? Who is Mary? And what's the significance, if anything, of her wheelchair and her markers?
Right. This is a person that I would see very frequently just around Minneapolis. When I used to work at a place called Arks Valley Village. It was a thrift store, and I'd take the bus there every day.
Yeah.
And some days I would end up waiting at the bus stop with this person who I knew to be called Mary. They are kind of an enigma within the community. Their house is painted like an abstract expressionist painting. It's every color of the rainbow, just
By
looks
her, do you
very scattered. I want to say yes, but I can't say yes for sure. I know that I believe she's like an internationally recognized artist, or this is what people have told me who may know her a little more than I do.
Yeah. She's even a better character than Ingrid Cole so far.
Well, and she's a real person.
Exactly.
I mean, through my lens, there's no way I can totally encapsulate who this person is just based on me seeing them waiting for the bus every day. But she always just had this black cloak and like wild frizzy hair, talking to herself a lot. And would use a wheelchair to balance and to kind of carry around her bags. That one was filled with markers, I saw one day, and I guess it to me it seems like she is kind of this like curmudgeonly character who, for all I know, I could have the totally wrong like perception about this person, and I had an old partner of mine was friends with somebody who would like shovel her driveway every day and in the winter. And was upset because so many people around where she lives or that like know her or see her around call her Crazy Mary, which is maybe an unfair
it's a bit offensive.
Exactly. Which is not a cool thing to be saying about somebody is a human being.
Absolutely. Yeah. So to counter that to some extent, she gets this song.
Yes, and it'd be cool if you know, I have no idea if she knows about it at all or would care or anything, but I hope that that in the song I've painted her in a light that is intriguing or like human or positive.
Yeah. Well, I think so. We gravitated towards that characterization, so I'd say so. When the cars pass by, she whispers under her breath, she spits and curses, so that fits with the...
Yeah, it's the kind of like talking under her breath that I'd seen.
And then is that, so we have a lot of questions and the words kind of shift around in these questions at different types in the song. So at one point it's, when will it come from? Where will it take me to? When will you take me where will you take me away?
Yeah.
And then the wheres and the whens and shift around.
Yeah, shifting. And the first time that those phrases pop up, it's kind of through her dialogue.
Right.
Maybe addressing the bus or like life.
Yeah.
What is life doing? Where is it going to take me? And then the second time that comes around, it's kind of it's me addressing her. Like who are you? Like
have you addressed her?
I've never spoken with her.
Only through the medium of song.
Yes. And yeah, just kind of seeing this person as like a fantastical human, being like, wow, like what? You just like seem like this enigma or this important figure. Who are you?
My favorite lyrics on the record are, "Ooh, Mary crosses the lines across the street with street signs. Would she draw me a simple figure or draw me something I can't imagine yet?" So, you know, in a context where others are interpreting this woman, Mary, in a very uncharitable manner, the generosity, or you know, the way in which your imagination is working here, alongside hers, and thinking, well, her lens, her imagination is maybe surpassing mine, or at least doing something different that I can't comprehend. I'm trying and I can't appreciate what Mary can do with her markers.
Probably limitless.
Yeah.
I mean, what, any of us can do anything with markers.
Yeah. And it seems to be back to this idea of the uniqueness or the specialness or the untouchability of the internal world.
Sure.
And of Mary's imagination. Is that a recurring thing in your music? So I recognize that there are these various characters. Mary seems that you use the word enigma, and it's almost like this song is trying to keep her an enigma as opposed to allowing her to be characterized as Crazy Mary, or even as something else, even as something which, if you take away the offensive nature of that name, not characterizing her, but giving us a sense of her particularity.
Yes, and I mean, maybe that's even unfair of me to like have, because the song I think inherently will provide like a narrow field of who this person is, just because it's me seeing this person in real life through my lens and then applying an artistic lens over that. So there's like a lot of removals.
Yeah. Certain details strike you as salient in the first place, and then the way that you convey them says as much about you as it does about her.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
But again, there's this intersection of the Larry Wish world and the Mary world.
It's all part of the world. I'm just a little person in the world.
The Queen of Ingwin. Is the Queen of Ingwin a little person in the world? Are they fictional?
This is, I think, somebody that I just thought up.
Okay.
Who was maybe in a position of power, who was struggling and who didn't want maybe the entitlements that they have, or like that position of power that they had inherited, and were like getting kind of sick of being worshipped and exalted and held in this esteem through the lens of people doing the worshiping and holding this person up to those standards and wanting to escape all of that. So at the end of the song, she runs away from her throne, and she's running through taxis and is,
Yeah.
I think, like, I envisioned her just jumping into the ocean and swimming away and being free of all the whatever she didn't want to be dealing with.
She's going to learn how to swim.
Yes.
It says. Because being exalted sure is right.
Yeah.
So these, I've been picking up on some of the lyrics, and it's really wonderful, your expansion on, like, your extension of these narratives and getting a sense of, what's going on there. But
Nice.
Let's focus a bit on how the songs sound as well. And so any one of those songs, The Queen of England, or Mary Has a Wheelchair and Lots of Markers, or Indrid Cold, what's the relationship between the character and the manner in which, be as specific as we can be, like the instrumentation or the tempo or just the way in which the song sounds? What's the relation, if anything?
Yeah, I think that I could draw some there, especially for Queen.
Yeah.
That song is very. It almost sounds like very snarky and very like sassy and upbeat and like a little bit goofy and cartoonish, and it's to me it paints the picture of a person who's just like, no, I don't want.
Yeah, and that non-verbal picture is
poem
is being created for about a minute before the vocals come in.
Yeah, that's right.
So and so in retrospect, is that so we've got about 40 seconds that has one kind of feel, and then a new riff kind of comes in.
Yes.
And then it's after about a minute that pale and pretty, undercooked, the spaghetti from the book, she does the threading, is tail.
Yeah.
The first lyrics come in. So can we like zoom in on that, minute and a bit of the song? We have a certain tone set.
Yeah.
Is that introducing a character? What is all the instrumentation doing in that first minute? And then what happens when all of a sudden those lyrics about the book are added into that mix?
That seems to me to be introducing a character, or just introducing the song. It's sort of like, here's the main chords and a main melody. It's playful and it's goofy, and then we get this like kind of snarky, sassy main riff that comes along. That it's like it's very silly and like it's almost like a bratty melody. And then the lyrics come in, and the instrumentation is kind of taken to the next level and amped up or revved up, and we get a lot faster, and we're all of a sudden delivering this kind of like fairy tale vision in the lyrics.
But now this is a character who is known and characterized as, say, snarky and as the center of attention and as someone who's exalted, as someone who has a throne, whether it's literal or metaphorical.
Yes.
Someone who is the Queen of England.
Yes.
And yet, they're misunderstood and they're unhappy with this characterization.
Right.
And the song allows them to escape it again, which seems, again, it's very similar to what's happening with the final song.
Yes.
Why is it called, as opposed to, say, the Queen of England, why is it called the Queen of England?
Well, I liked Queen. I think I was just walking to Kate's for practice one evening. Yes, exactly. And I just thought that Queen was such a funny combination of king and queen. Also, I'm pretty sure that in this song, like, I gender this person as being a she, but I wanted it to not be either.
So the title at least enables us to imagine it's a genderless person.
It's not exclusive. Yes. I like it when people can relate to the songs, and which is hard to do through my lens of being just like me, who I am. I certainly don't have all the perspectives and lenses of the world, but if I can at all like make that a little wider and a little broader, I think that I like doing that when I can.
Yeah, empathy seems to be very important in the songs, in a way that only as we're kind of zooming in on these characters and thinking about how that relates to what's happening kind of sonically, it's kind of coming out, oh, there's these misunderstood, that's a recurring thing, these characters are misunderstood. The record begins with Must Be Someone.
Yes.
Which seems like a perfect opener, but that's also a song that has featured on previous, there is a previous version of it, isn't there?
Yeah, on the album Comb Hair, it's like kind of the solo Larry Wish version.
Yeah.
Yes, and then also on the Orange Milk compilation.
Absolutely.
That first one. Yeah,
that's where I
Free
encountered
Willy
it.
style.
Yeah, I love that title too. So how did you decide to open this Larry Wish and His Guys records with that song?
It just seems like such an opener. I think it's the one that we recorded first also, so maybe that has something to do with it, but it also it starts right off the bat.
Yeah.
There's no like, I don't think there's any count in or any like fade in or anything. It's very, here's the song. It's like a lurching start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the same Indrid Cold-esque sense of uneasiness.
And there's a person in there too, I think, that I had forgotten about before, this Boppy character.
Yes.
At the end that the song is largely about.
Okay. In my room, or this in these rooms, which used to be a place I could trust at night. I feel my plants sometimes, but what am I really feeding, Boppy?
Yeah. This song was kind of a joke on myself.
Okay.
And was written in a period of my life where, for some reason, I was entertaining the idea of having like a demon.
Yeah. Boppy
in my
is the
life.
demon.
And Boppy is the demon.
Yeah.
And this was a house plant that I had in my old room at the organ house that I'd named Boppy, and I'd kind of...
So Boppy's never been here before?
Boppy's never been here, no. I think I threw Boppy out the window one day. But I had, for whatever reason, turned this plant into a scapegoat for this believed demon in my life. And this song is about, at the same time, like believing that, and then also knowing that that's not true, and that's is a very absurd thing.
Yeah.
For me to think.
Boppy is the someone.
Yeah, and must be someone, but I'm wrong. There's that kind of part in the middle.
Yeah, that's kind of, is that a chorus?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You must be someone,
you must be
someone else.
Yeah.
You must be someone else, but I'm wrong. So, again, this combination of belief and disbelief.
Yes.
It's the same thing with, you believe in Indrid Cold, but you don't believe in Indrid Cold.
Yeah, but it's like, how could that be?
The same thing with Boppy.
Yes, exactly.
So stop making my mind into an ampersand. That's your final final word to Boppy. Puts Boppy in his place.
Yeah.
What does it mean for one's mind to be an ampersand?
Oh, to like twist into that shape and to be so confused and distorted.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's kind of like, oh, I wonder if I can do it backwards for the camera. But there's, it's like the and sign, a lot of twisting there.
Yeah.
And if your brain was in that shape, ow.
Yeah.
That would hurt. It would not be fun.
So this song is, so I should have focused on this one, having looked at the others, because it seems to be doing something quite different. If Indrid Cold and the other songs we've looked at so far are making these efforts to empathize with others and to characterize them in a way that doesn't impose your lens too much, to avoid that as much as one humanly can. This one is like speaking from within you.
Yes.
Helping yourself work through something.
Yes.
And if it's like perhaps the soundtrack or a sounding board for the process that leads to Boppy being thrown out the window. There is also a record about life beginning through the window. Is that referencing?
Oh yes, Born Outside My Window.
That's not referencing the Boppy?
That's not referencing that. That's referencing a sheet of lyrics that my friends and I found outside my friend's window. In high school.
Anonymously written?
Yes,
lyrics.
it was.
But they were lyrics.
Some song lyrics that somebody had written, and the title of the song was I don't think it was the title actually. I think it was like one of the first lines in the song was "I was born outside my window,"
Wow.
and it seemed like kind of this like bluesy song.
Yeah.
And
Well, his lyrics are giving birth to themselves outside the window and announcing that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it stuck with me since high school, and I
That's what
wanted to put it
happens
to
in
some
Minneapolis.
use.
Like, songs just write themselves
Yeah.
outside of windows.
Yeah,
And
let's
they're
see what we get.
yeah, we can't. They're all over the place. They write
Yes.
themselves. So, again, I suppose the question: why does we talked a little bit about how Must Be Someone sounds,
Mhm.
and it just like dives in.
Yeah.
If it is a sounding board for this process of working through how you feel about bopping, how and why does it end up sounding like it does?
Yes, I think that the sound of that song, at least how we performed it as a group,
Yeah.
it really takes a stance and is kind of one of the
It's
like
assertive.
harder rockin'. Yeah, it's
It
like
is.
an assertive rock song, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's the only one that really sounds like that specifically on the album. That sounds that assertive.
I love the bring. I don't know if I can if that's enough to give you a sense of the bit but it's in the beginning of the song. The instrumentation is so interesting, I think.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that's maybe Nate doing something on the guitar.
I think it would have to be his tone was so all over the place. He's
Yeah.
this wizard with
like
with
purposefully, masterfully all over the place.
yes. No, not like accidentally. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing, but he is he crafts
Yeah.
very well.
Was that with pedals and stuff then? So
Yeah.
shifting like
With pedals, with the amp that he was using, and just in his choice of guitar and whatever pickups to use. I believe I know second to nothing about guitars,
Yeah.
but I think that it was just a big mixture of all of those things
yeah.
and his experience with them.
So from being masterfully all over the place to oh god of polish, I'm lacklusterly scattered, which is the opening lyrics of Calendar Year. The Calendar Year, I think, is if one goes to the Bandcamp, I think that's the song that it directs you to.
So, yeah.
So it's not the opening track, but it is perhaps might be many people's introduction to at least the record.
Yes, and I think that's how Moonglyph presents it too. It's sort
Yeah.
of like the single that was chosen from the album.
Yeah. Did they choose that as the single, or was it collaboratively that would?
That was
did you have input?
collaborative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve had emailed me asking, what do I think would be a good couple of singles, and
Yeah.
I think I had said he said like it sounds to me like Calendar Year and Must Be Someone.
Yeah.
Would be a good choice, and I said yes, Calendar Year. That's exactly what I was thinking, but like maybe Mary too instead of Must Be Someone.
Yeah. And so they were released as singles then?
At least on SoundCloud.
On SoundCloud?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Calendar Year, this policy of beginning with a character and letting that lead us into the song seems to work. So, Johnny Camaraderie
Yes.
is the character who shows up in Calendar Year.
Yes.
Who is Johnny? What's he doing in this song?
I don't know him at all.
But he seems like a very upbeat fellow, camaraderie.
I think that if anything, that person, it was just like me putting myself into a person. I'm thinking, oh, Johnny Camaraderie, like what a pleasant sounding name for a person.
Yeah, so this song, on a record which, the title of which, as we've established, kind of highlights the idea of being unwelcoming.
Yeah, and exclusive and
Exclusivity.
unwanting, yes.
Yeah, and we've encountered so many unwanted, misunderstood characters.
Yes.
Johnny Camaraderie seems almost to be like the hero.
Kind of,
who's like,
yeah.
no, it's okay, you can be here.
Yeah.
I see you.
But also is kind of a knucklehead, I think. I think I painted him as kind of like, like at the end of the song, he just doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, you're going to try to get to a playpen and he ends up in a hospital somehow and just kind of like wandering around through life.
Yeah. It doesn't come across so as a, stupid Johnny kind of thing.
Sure.
Or crazy Johnny.
Yeah.
Doesn't come across as that.
Johnny, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
If you're out there.
If you're watching Johnny.
So I think that song is very much, I think I'm the Johnny
Yeah.
in that song, and that song was written in this time in my life where that's very much, I felt like I was just kind of bopping around, like I really don't know what I'm doing. I write a lot of songs.
Yep.
I work at a job that I don't care for that much. I feel a little directionless and like maybe like a little doubting of myself too, as far as like efficacy goes, like what I can accomplish, like who I can be, and I think that comes out in that song a bit.
And in Sometimes I Actually Kimberly myself.
Yes.
Sometimes I stand in a line, sometimes I stand at a counter wasting my time. And then a bit later, the hours that,
That's alright, it's weird.
The time that I am wasting while I'm wasting my time is gone. So if soundtrack music was the product of, or accompanies a period of clarity and personal development, what's happening with these, with calendar year and with Sometimes I Actually Kimberly myself, where there's more kind of self-doubt? Yeah,
directionless, and maybe a bit of frustration at where I am, not sure what I can do or where I can go. There's in that first verse, there's just the idea of being processed. Like sometimes I stand in a line, I'm like always at the bank, I'm always at this job where I just don't care for it. And that was kind of just, that song is venting frustrations, but also trying to vent like absurdity of everything. The title was thought up, if you want to know about that, that was, I think it was just the dead of like February in 2013 or something. It was a very cold night. It was like way too cold. I was walking to my partner at the time's house. It's like a 15-minute walk, and I had already had my bathrobe on, and I kept it on and put on a bunch of coats and like walked there and felt like just such an absurd human being. I was like walking around like, what would people think, like passing by in cars, like what are they, maybe they don't even care. I mean, that's like a lot of ego talking. But it came from like sometimes I can't believe myself just walking down the street like, I am such a fool. and then it became Kimberly because I was like, oh, that sounds like it just has such a deliciously absurd ring to it.
Okay. So Sometimes I Actually Kimberly myself. Kimberly, so you're in the process of Kimberlying yourself when you're in your robe. Various coats walking down the street, and the phrase has an absurd ring to it. So Kimberly, is that a phrase that's specific to you, or is this a reference to a particular Kimberly?
Not to any particular person. It just had this ring to it that I really felt that instead of can't believe, Kimberly had to be inserted in that line.
Sometimes I can't believe myself, sometimes I Kimberly myself.
Yeah. Just like trying to build these titles to albums and songs that I've never heard of before.
Yeah, you even have an album that is just titles.
That's right, yeah.
Which one is that?
That is Taste Beal, Taste the Beal.
And that was so why is it called that?
I believe that a friend, Joe Burns, had referred to Taco Bell as Taste Beal once, and that just cracked me up, and it had stuck with me since then, and I wanted to use that. I actually thought of all 50 of those titles in the dining room here in a particularly manic feeling morning before heading to work or school. In about 10 minutes, I just wrote
how many
50 titles down.
And then is that on Bandcamp?
It's on Bandcamp. I think you can buy it, but I think you can't buy it at the same time because Bandcamp won't let you buy an album that doesn't have any content to it. There's no audio files. It's up to you, actually, as the listener, to write all of the songs. So it's entirely up to you. It's like a coloring book.
There we go. And there is this And that fits. That's a fit. It was really near the end of our interview. That's a fitting focus, I think, because there's a celebration of the Larry Wish world or lens, celebrated by, for example, Jake. He was saying it's fully realized. So as opposed to this more vague, like we all have this common understanding of what our community thinks. That's actually vaguer because it's like, you know, a little bit of each person. So there's a celebration of the Larry Wish lens, and for example, taking I Can't Believe Myself and making it I Can Believe Myself is a good example of that lens in action.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a, I think, wonderful like skepticism or concern about the lens and what damage, or what, if not damage, at least distortion, one's lens can do.
Yes.
As you focus on these various characters.
Yes.
And I think inviting the collaboration and the concern about being Larry Wish, and thinking everyone's looking at one when one's walking down the street in the that wonderfully comes through, I think, in the invitation for, you know, the listeners to create the song with you.
Yes.
And in the manner in which you're looking at and inviting us to see these characters and each other and ourselves in these records. So thank you for doing all of that.
No problem.
Can we help? So the viewers and myself, can we help you with your current process in any way? Because you've got what's the title again of the current project?
The new one is How More Can You Need?
How more can you need?
Yes.
How more can we help?
Oh my gosh.
It's an off-the-wall question.
No, I love it. I love it. Send me ideas. Send me different ways that you think that I can push myself. I'm always open to invitations, open to criticism, open to collaborations, and open to new things. Yeah. So if you have any ideas of what I should do, or something that you would like to see, or something that you would not like to see, send me an email if you like. It's larwish@yahoo. And that's all lowercase, LARRWISH. There's no Y.
You've got to know Larry pretty well, and the most recent records. And remember, Adam, aka Larry, doesn't want to do the same thing twice. He's already made a triangle out of hair. So if you were going to suggest that, don't suggest that one.
At least a different shape. Or different hair. The rabbit edge side of things.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. I hope that people do send you some ideas.
Me too.
And
yes.
I can't wait to hear this new record. When are you performing next? Do you have any shows on the books?
Yes.
The moment that really stuck in my mind from the Coming Soon record release was the band's delivery of "When you see his face, you go to heaven, and when you see his smile, you go to heaven. You go right now." What were you doing at the moment? Because I feel like that moment just really stuck in my mind.
Just in the song in general?
Yeah, well, and that coming soon release, there was maybe some kind of gesture, or there was something in the delivery of that. I just remembered all those lyrics.
It must have just been, was it kind of a dramatic or assertive delivery?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it must have been that. I think that I tend to make that part overly dramatic because it just sounds so dramatic in the lyrics themselves.
Yeah. Oh, not overly dramatic.
Ham it up for sure.
Cool. And from You Go Right Now, We Go Right Now.
Yes.
We've reached the end. Don't forget to send your ideas on a stamped addressed postcard or either through the internet.
Yes, please do.
to Adam, to his new home.
Yeah, vehicle.
And thank you very much for joining us in the duplex.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you very much for watching.
So then back to the city. Thanks very much.